Uh, we were both equally drained. Our bodies covered in sweat, privates covered in fluids. But even dirty and exhausted, we felt no shame or insecurity. Like Adrienne said, it was utterly fulfilling sex. Julie. I turned my head to the side and looked at Julie, equally lost in ecstasy. When our eyes met, I saw a subtle smile form on her lips. I'll never let you go, Julie. I forgot about Adrienne entirely for a second and whispered to Julie lovingly. Hi. See, this is what I mean. They fucking forgot about Adrienne. So the last time he came, it's more serious, quote unquote, right? Her smile widened. It was a feeling of pure happiness for me. I just wished it would last forever.
二人は本当に相性が抜群だったんだね。その限りでは安心だけど、さて、どう出るか。
Huh? Adrienne just shook her head silently. I closed my eyes after all the exertion, and my consciousness slipped away. 6, 9. Oh, that's ironic. Look, I thought I was worried, right? I was like, okay, this is after a hate scene. I'm gonna be like, if there was nudity, right? If there was a nude sprite, I wasn't gonna worry. I mean, yeah, well, no. If there was a nude sprite, I was gonna be like, okay, I'll just put it in the Patreon exclusive, right? But there wasn't, so yeah, that's part of the YouTube, I guess. Huh? My head felt empty, but I realized after a while I was staring up at the ceiling in my room. When the heck did I get back last night? Wait a sec. So that was in a dream. I hope it is. I swear to fuck it is. As usual, I didn't have the slightest clue that that was actually a dream. Well, my boxes are frickin' soaked. Okay, no, it actually was a dream. Good. It's still, yeah, but like I said in the stream, I gave Adrienne the benefit of the doubt if it was a dream. I still don't understand why she needed to be like, no, it isn't a dream, because saying that it is a dream would serve an even bigger, would serve the same purpose of making sex less serious, quote unquote, right? It sounded like such a hassle to watch them. I was glad it was Sunday. I managed to pull myself out of bed, expecting worse than just wet underwear. I went to my shelf and grabbed my small mirror. Whoa. My face only looked happy and content. I didn't look bad at all. I looked tired as usual, but just the expected amount after a wet dream. I was nowhere near a mummy like before. What happened? I hastily took a shower and promptly went to Julie's house. Oh, Julie.
おはようございます。
You have your clothes on, thank God. Morning.
おはよう。
Adrienne. I bowed my head in China's. Thinking back to the dream, it was hard to look her straight in the eye.
どうしたんだい？そんなに息切ってやってきて。不倫相手に会いたくなったのかな？
Why are you bragging about that? You cheated on your husband with Yuta. It doesn't.
もう何言ってるのよ、ママ。冗談だよ。
look at my face. My complexion, it's normal, and also I smiled broadly and was about to continue, but Adrian swiftly butted in.
ああ、それは私の魔力が働いていたからだよ。
は？
だから、正気がユリの方には流れていかないよう、私のところでブロックしてあげたんだよ。
So that's what happened. Hearing the blunt reality made my shoulder slump. Julie looked at me with her usual worry.
ゆうたくんが来るのを待っていたんだよ。
So what you're saying is... Okay, so what you're saying is that so what you're saying is that's the reason you had to join them. I'm gonna say... you know what? Actually, no, I'm just gonna say it. Did you have to join them? Did you have to join them on the bed? Watching them on the sidelines is voyeurism, yes, but it's not cheating, right? Did she have to use her power? Did he have to engage in sex? It wasn't, well, the sex part was only Yuta and Julie. She mostly did stuff at the start, but did she have to join them to use her powers? I guess it'll be answered, or maybe not. It'll be delayed, and then I'll make a whole fuss about it I'll make a whole fuss about it on stream. And then the next time and then the next recording session, they clarify exactly they say the exact opposite of what I talk about on stream. It was the same thing with Karen, where like her story was absolute dog shit because nothing happened, and then and then the next recording session, which was after the hate scene, the last hate scene, stuff happened, and now with this was I stopped recording before the hate scene. Well, actually, if you're watching the YouTube, you don't know there was a hate scene, but there was a hate scene. You probably could have surmised that, but that's beside the point. Before the last recording session, the last stream, I was like, Adrienne is a bitch for cheating on Oishi, and I was giving her the benefit of the doubt if this was a dream, but it wasn't. And now this recording session, Adrienne is like, oh, I mean, it was like, oh, it was just a dream, but you know. I looked at her with a mostly empty stare.
結局、私の試みは功を奏さなかったわけだが、ただ無意味だったわけじゃない。分かったことがあるからね。
What's that?
二人がもう離れられない仲にあるってことさ。
Well, of course.
相性も抜群で、それに私はちょっとびっくりしたよ。あのユリがあんなにハッスルするなんて思いもよらなかったからね。
Even if that's just in a dream?
そう。確かに陰夢の中では性格がちょっと変わるのがムマの特徴だ。とはいえ、全くの別人のようになるわけではない。
Yeah, it's not like Haruka in 99.
だから普段のユリからするとやっぱり意外ではあったわね。
それ自分でもそうなんだ。私がこんなに乱れるなんてって自分でもちょっと不思議に思ったくらいだったから。
それがきっと一人前の女になるってことなのさ。そうなのよね。ユリももう子供ではない。
Adrian shook her head silently.
さて、相性が抜群なのは結構なことだけど、 あれじゃああんたが慣れる前にやっぱりゆうたくんはおだぶつだね。そこで私ももう根本的に考えを変えることにしたよ。
What do you mean by that?
話はパパも交えてするから。何しろ大事なことだからね。パパにとっても。
There seems to be some significant context, but I decided not to press on.
話は夜でいいよ。今日はせっかくの日曜なんだから2人でデートでもしてきたら。
Okay.
それにしても今後も私とやる？思惑抜きにしてさ。ゆうたくんの正規は相当の美味だったからね。旦那一筋に変化はないけど、つまみ食いするにはちょうどいいわね。
She licked her lips enticingly as she spoke.
ダメ。夢の中でもやっぱりゆうたさんは私だけのものなんだから。
See, Julie gets it.
はいはい、わかったよ。ゆうたくんは過保者だね。こんな可愛い娘にそこまで思われてさ。
I know it.
けど惚れた女のために自分の全てを投げ出してしまう。そんな男はこれまで私は見たことがないわけだが、まあそんな話は夜にしよう。
Well, yeah, you've never met an arrogant protagonist. You've met a hentai protagonist, and you married one. Married a hentai protagonist, but you've never met a visual novel protagonist, a dating sim protagonist. Yeah. It was already close to noon, so we went for a brunch. We went for brunch at the Honeydew.
おお、いらっしゃい。
I started talking to Julie after we ordered. Seems like Adrienne still has something in mind. And Julie nodded. Another ace up her sleeve. She really keeps us on the edge. I relaxed a little, knowing there was still salvation for us, and leaned back in my chair. But why does she do that? I was right. You can't just show that you have an ace up your sleeve. I couldn't consider it a guaranteed fix. If there was a guaranteed fix, she would have told us from the start.
なんか今朝からママの様子がちょっと変なんです。
Strange, how so?
なんていうのか、妙に優しいんです。
Nice.
こういう言い方もあれなんですけど、なんだかちょっと気味が悪いくらいで。
Adrienne was usually pretty strict, stomping over everything in her path. And that woman was being nice to the point where it was troubling her own daughter. That's not a bad thing, right?
そうなんですけどね。
She grinned hesitantly and nodded.
はい、お待たせ。ゆうくんは大盛りだったね。
Yep. After a solid meal, we could have a tasty sweet to top it off. That was the honeydew's appeal for me.
やっぱり甘露亭のフルーツあんみつは美味しいです。はあ、もう美味しすぎます。
Get a different CG. I can't use this one. I've already used it for the thumbnail of a different episode. That was the one you liked. That was the one you liked? She brought the small spoon to her smiling lips. Watching her eat with such joy, It made me grin happily myself. Where should we go after we eat?
そうですね。
She thought for a while before answering.
今日は浜辺にでも行ってみたいです。
The beach? We can't swim yet.
なんだか海が見たくて。
Okay. Yeah, beach season is next month. After we finished eating, we went to our usual route. It was a nice thought. Oh, wait. We went to our usual route. Yeah, okay. Usually it would be on our usual route. It was a nice thought, thinking we were heading to the beach from the path we usually took to and from the school.
風が気持ちいいですね。
I mean, I get that it still makes sense, but no one talks about going to the place they usually walk, you know? Yeah. The sun was strong enough to make us sweat from just walking, so the ocean breeze quickly cooled our bodies. It was a splendid location, but since it was the off-season, there wasn't a soul on the beach. We held hands and walked along the shore. It was soothing, walking with my lover, with only the sound of the crashing waves.
ゆうたさん。
Hmm? I turned around and saw Julie's face was a bit tense. What?
私思ったんですが、もうエッチはしないことにします。
No, I can't believe this. It was virtually out of the blue. If we were a normal couple, I would have felt a rush of anxiety. Hang on. Wasn't it like human spirit energy is like vitamins to succubi? Vitamins for succubi? Julie nodded. I hadn't heard about it in much detail, but it was apparently essential nutrients for them. Aside from regular meals, there was a need for spirit energy, which is why they gave men wet dreams. Except for the fact that Julie hadn't done that until her route, which started canonically like a few months ago. Last month. The month before that, probably. Wasn't that the case? Well, she told me once before, couples that forego sex aren't exactly a rare thing, but there was a deep meaning at stake for succubi. That's true, right?
そうですけど。
Julie affirmed with a troubled look. Well then. Julie stopped in place and turned to face me. She had tears in her eyes.
私もゆうべわかったんです。
What? I forced myself to calm down as I asked her.
このままではやっぱりゆうたさんはいずれ亡くなってしまいます。
I mean, that is a valid concern. I don't care if I die. A ball formed in my throat as I motioned to say it. It wasn't because I was suddenly afraid of at the prospect, though.
自分の娘が人を死に追いやるかもしれないわけだからね。親としてはそりゃ座視できない気持ちになる。
Well, thankfully you aren't. Literally watching.
そうじゃないと自分の愛する男を自分が殺すことになる。そんなの耐えられないじゃないか。
The words my in-laws had said before swirled around in my mind. I didn't care about the befell of my body. I didn't care about what befell of my body in all this. That was the truth. So in response to Adrian's words, I could have said as much if I tried to. I can, without hesitation, throw everything away for the girl I love. But I couldn't let that pseudo-heroic feeling force Julie into a life of guilt and regret. So that means, it was an old way of phrasing it, but the word didn't come to me right away. You're going to be chaste? Is that what you mean?
それだけではないです。
Julie was smiling with tears in her eyes. I knew a part of it was laughing, but somehow it amplified the sadness.
私は結局あり方がおかしいんです。
Wrong?
私は無魔なのに、無魔としてはどうしても生きていけない、そんな風にできています。無魔は成熟すると必ず正気を必要とします。だからユータさんと出会っていなかったとしても、私はいずれ。
Her voice trailed off. What did I tell her before? You're fine the way you are. You don't need to change. At the time, I knew those words were true. But that wasn't just back then either. I thought the same thing even now. But I may have been wrong. Maybe I should have been. Maybe I shouldn't have sympathized with her so readily. I had no idea who or what she was, but I comforted her with human emotions. Hence Julia succubus, became unable to advance as one, just as she was unable to quit being one. It's my fault.
違います。
But we can't, Julie. I pulled her body close to mine. She groaned pitifully, and her body shivered. I could never let you die. But if I couldn't let her live with her regret, then then we had to... Julie, if you can endure the practice, then I can too. I looked her square in the eyes and stared at it. Julie's eyes were wide with surprise and immediately filled with heavy, flowing tears. She turned her head slowly, side to side, without another word. I told you, didn't I? My voice was unexpectedly harsh and Julie froze in place. I won't let you die. I held her tight and, unlike before, her body was stiff with anxiety. She couldn't restrain her sobs, and this time her body shook violently. I told you in our dreams too. I'll never, ever let you go. I held her even tighter, doing all I could to stop her from shaking. Time slipped by us, leaving us at a loss for how to proceed. It was at least better than dying. That much should have been true, but seeing Julie in the depths of despair made that belief waver. I was sure I was in the right and chatted as much before, but soon after I realized I wasn't sure in the slightest. We shared no words with one another as we stared at the waning sunset. She shed no tears, but her cheeks looked irritated and pained. Even knowing that, I couldn't bring myself to touch them. We should go soon. It sounded like a great idea at the time, but our little excursion could hardly be called a date. I tried to somehow voice it with cheer. She had no idea. She had no answer for me. Julie, is it that bad? Taking spirit energy from another guy?
はい。
She had a clear answer for me then. If she could just suppress that emotion, the problem would be solved. She clearly understood that herself, which was why she collapsed in tears. But I want to be with you forever. It's not like I want it, you know, but I want to stay together as husband and wife. Like my in-laws. It was hard to endure knowing your wife had been with others, but those two showed it was still more than possible for love to thrive. But Julie failed to reply once again. Her hand was lifeless, and my grip felt like the only thing keeping us together. At that moment, true fear overcame me. No. I could not change Julie's mind no matter what I said. Could I not change Julie's mind no matter what I said? Was she already destined to the life of a widow? I was somewhat dreading our arrival at home, but sure enough we got there. Was she here already? Let's check.
はい。ただいま。
おかえり。
おかえり。
Oh, hello.
どうしたの？
Adrienne immediately focused on Julie's face.
せっかくの可愛い顔が台無しになってるじゃない。喧嘩？
Kinda. No, we didn't have a fight or anything.
まあそうか。ゆりは人と喧嘩するようなたちじゃないものね。ただこう見えて意外に頑固なんだよね、この子は。
Adrienne ruffled Julie's hair with her hand.
私はずっと口を酸っぱくして言ってきたわけだからさ。もっとムマらしくしろって。
Oh, that's right. He had been telling Julie as much for countless years. But even that couldn't sway Julie's mind.
それも私が教育ママだったからというような理由ではないんだし、実際的な意味があった。
I tried to tell her just before. Just endure it and take spirit energy from other guys. I could accept it.
で、どうだって？
I shook my head silently.
まあ、そうだろうね。たった一度の説得で、この頑固者を変えられたら世話はない。でも、毎日のようにそんなことを言い続けたら、ゆりもいい加減変になってしまうだろう。で、行き着く先は破滅だ。私としてもそれは避けたい。それで私は思ったんだけど、どうせ二人が離れられない気持ちでいるなら、いっそのこと、本当に一心同体になってしまえばいいんだよ。
Oh, yeah, what does that mean?
そうすれば問題は解決する。
What does that even mean?
それを答える前に、ゆり。あんたはもう子供じゃない。一人の立派な女だ。だから、これを機に、親子の縁を切るよ。
Also, she's still not an adult. Just because she lives in her own place doesn't mean she's only second year high school. She's only 16, 17 at the most, because, you know, grade 18 at graduation, you know, it's something weird like that. Huh? The unexpected statement shook me as well.
とはいえ、これが根性の別れってわけでもない。むしろ、これからも今まで通りではあるよ。けど、ゆりはもう、ふるさとには帰れなくなる。ムマをやめるからね。
I mean, that is what I expected. It's the same thing with fucking Yorihime, right? To be with Yuta, she had to no longer be a goddess. But now Julie has to do the same with no longer being a succubus.
幸いなことにこんな立派な家も建てた。血のつながった父親がそばに住んでいて、愛する旦那もいる。だったらもうなんの問題もないだろうと、私もそう判断したのさ。
Look, all I'm saying is that it would be a bit more shocking of a reveal if this was if I did her route before Yorihime's. That it was possible that they could no longer be the thing they are. What do you mean? What does that mean exactly? Adrian ignored my question.
ゆうたくん、昼間はなんか私に言いたそうだったね。
Huh?
惚れた女のために自分を投げ出す男はいない。私がそんなことをつぶやいた時にさ。あの時、なんて言いたかったの？今言ってみなさいな。
I think I am that man. I think I am that man.
よく言った。
Oh, just, I can't let Julie bear that.
わかってるよ。ただ私としては、ゆうたくんの覚悟のほどが聞きたかったのさ。
ムマをやめるっていうのは、つまり。
人間の魂をいただくんだよ。
I mean, she already doesn't act like one. Act like one. Julie nodded nervously, but Julie nodded nervously. She's aware of some aspects to this and that was unknown to me.
それによってユリはムマの特性を失う。まあハーフみたいなもんか。
What do you mean, half?
魂を失った男はというと死にはしない。死にはしないけど。
I mean, here's the thing, right? This is definitely a different process from what Yorihime had to go through to become a human, but, you know, Edriad looked over at me with a smile.
元ムマの女から離れられなくなる。でもユウタくんはそれが望むところなんだろう？
True. No other way.
それが私も確信できたからこんなやり方を進めたわけなのさ。それにユリはやっぱり昔から変わった子だったよ。ムマの王女。そんな立場の割には人間の側に近い子供だった。
醜いアヒルの子というやつだね。容姿の話ではないよ。
Hang on a minute. The entire purpose of the ugly duckling was... The entire point of the ugly duckling was entirely about appearance. They didn't give a fuck about the duckling until he became a swan, because he wasn't a duck in the first place.
結局ユリちゃんはムマとしては生きづらかったのかもしれないね。
であればさ、いっそのことやめてしまうのも悪くはない。
Bro,
私はそう思ったんだよね。
you can't use that as an analogy because you're implying Julie was a human since the start. That's not the case. Julie was not the goose. She's been a duckling. she isn't just suddenly becoming the goose. She grew up as a duck.
でも、ママは本当にそれでいいの？それも私、気になっていて。
別に会えなくなるわけじゃないしね。立場はパパと同じさ。
そのことじゃなくて、だって私は一人っ子なのに。
I see.
そのこともパパと相談していたんだ。結果、またハッスルすることになったのさ。
Yeah, like you haven't been getting busy every day. Wait, seriously?
なんでそこまで意外そうにするのさ。
I mean, not really, but still. No.
私もまだまだ用水が腐るような年じゃないしね。
That is expected. You're a succubus. I don't think you get menopause. I don't think succubi go through menopause, you know? So even fucking gilf succubi can still birth children.
ほんとだよ。
I'm not doubting you or anything.
旦那も元気いっぱいだ。むしろ邪魔なゴムをつけなくても済むとなったら、ますます元気になるんじゃないかね。
Right. So why stop talking about this? Stop saying anything. Stop saying shit. Alright? Stop talking. We just stood at Gabe looking at the two of them.
そういうわけで、ゆりは自分のことだけを考えればいいよ。
I had a newfound respect for Adrienne's care and generosity in that moment.
ま、およそ10ヶ月後には可愛い妹の顔を見ることができる。それを楽しみにしているんだね。
Shut up.
10ヶ月後って。
That was the typical length of a pregnancy. I looked over to the bed unconsciously. The sheets looked pretty ruffled. You haven't done the sheets? Oh. Wait. Well, no, I'm still saying they haven't done up the sheets. But why the fuck did they do it? No, I'm not gonna think about it. His laugh sounded a little more awkward than before.
そんな話はそれくらいにして。
You know what? I'm just gonna say that Julie didn't do up her bed, and it's not because they fucked on her bed.
じゃあいいね、ゆり。あんたはもう二度と帰れない。
I was wondering, there's like a fucking music box version of the opening. You could barely hear it, but yeah.
半分人間としてこの地で生きていくことになる。死ぬまで。それでいいんだね。
はい。
I nodded along with her confident answer.
ルマが一人の男をどうしても自分のものにしたい。そう思った時、魂を奪うことができるそうなんです。
She says as a half succubus, but like, aren't all succubi half succubi? Because they would only develop the traits of a succubi from their mother, because there aren't any male succubi, right? So she's becoming more human. She's becoming more than half of a human when she accepts Yuta's soul.
ただ、それをすると、相手の人を、その命を拘束してしまうことになるので。
It'd be funny if that had like an actual in-game if there was an actual ramification for that in-game. It's like, what game am I thinking of? I guess fucking Undertale, where in Undertale, if you do the genocide route and then do a pacifist route after, you can tell that the game is that the game knows you did a genocide route before you did a genocide route after before a pacifist route. Right, so there are a few different changes, but overall it's completely like it's fairly the same, right? So like if you do Julie's route, I was gonna say that it completely locks you out of any other character, but that would be a bit unfair. But, you know, it would be funny. That's fine with me. I just said that's the way I want it.
はい。
We decided to move forward immediately that night.
無魔の旧姓ですが、成功だけに限られるわけじゃないんです。
This is a first.
素肌を触れ合わせる。それによっても少しずつですが、正気をもらうことができます。
Interesting.
ゆうたさんは私の手で一度命を失うことになります。
Oh, so he'll die.
でもすぐに私と一つになって目が覚めますから、心配しないでください。
I'm not worried. Hey, Julie nodded gently and led me over to the bed.
シーツは取り替えましたから。
Probably also should completely change the mattress as well. Haha.
服を脱いでください。
Yeah. I got naked.
ゆうたさんからどうぞ。
I mean, she is pretty hot. I haven't really commented on the nipples of the characters out in their naked sprites, but they're all very. I don't know what word to use, but yeah. She lifted the blanket, motioning me into the bed. Yeah, I mean, if you wanna, you know, you can go over to the Patreon if you want to see them. I slipped onto the cottony mattress, and Julie soon followed. I wish I could use this as the... I wish I could use this, right? But once I remove that transparency, you know, it's fucking... I can no longer use it as the thumbnail for the episode. I mean, here's the problem, right? This is going to be in the episode, and I probably can use it as a thumbnail. It's just everything above the cleavage. Well, no, there's going to be cleavage, but it's going to be significantly cut off, you know? And it's not like I haven't already done that before, but still. I'm just saying, the fact that there were 3 episodes in a row with no CGs, I'm kind of starving for more CGs in her route. Our faces were right up next to one another, and Julie's eyes squinted in a smile.
ちょっと暑いかもしれませんけど、我慢してくださいね。
Julie pressed her body into mine to have as much of our skin touching as possible. Our bodies were at different temperatures, and Julie's felt chilly against mine.
暖かい。
This was a serious moment for both of us. But still, when she touched me like this, I felt my loins stirring. It wasn't sex per se, but it was still an act only those in love could do. Naked cuddling, yeah, you're right. It made me conscious that my spirit was the only one Julie could have. Julie was all mine, which meant that to her I was. I had a strange feeling of love overcome me, like we had surpassed even the level of husband and wife. I mean, that is what you're doing. We had overcome many hardships thanks to belonging to different races. But that was precisely what was allowing us to achieve such intimacy. Surely we'll be together forever, until death do us part. It was a corny line, but it came naturally in the moment.
はい。でも本当はちょっと違うんですよ。
Yeah, even after death they'll still be together. Hmm?
それも 同時になりますから。
I nodded. I nodded. That was what I meant to be one in body and mind. That was what it meant to be one in body, to be one in body and mind.
眠くなったら、そのまま寝てしまってくださいね。
Okay. It was a bit earlier than my usual sleeping time, but I was already feeling heavy. Well, yeah, you're getting drained. It was likely because I was gradually losing spirit energy, and then you're gonna wake up and she's gonna be on top of you, or sucking your censored. Abseiling, huh? It was a mountaineering word. I heard about it the first time, for the first time when my father-in-law told me about it. Abseiling was using a rope to connect yourself and a partner to the mountain. As long as one of us was secured, even if the other fell, they would be saved. But
しかし、最悪の場合、どちらも滑落してしまうことになる。だから、本当に危険なクライミングになると、あえて安全練しないそうだけどね。ま、それはともかく、アドリアーネの説明を聞いて、僕はそれを連想したんだ。
Adrian nodded once, then continued speaking.
魂を奪って二人が一つになる。それはやっぱりムマにとっても凄まじい行為なんだ。
Yeah, because you know from first-hand experience, these hoes ain't fucking loyal.
異物を存在の最も深いところで受け入れるわけだからね。拒絶反応が起こったら一巻の終わりだ。それを避ける手段はただ一つ。互いの愛情だけだよ。
Love.
心と体の交換がなくなった時点で、異物となった魂は女の命を破壊する。そして一度死を乗り越えた男は今度こそ死ぬことになる。
So it's like our souls will be bound by a rope?
そういうことになるね。そして、単なる安罪練のようには、状況に応じて解くこともできない。
I understand that. It looked like the talk was over. They waved goodbye and left the room together. They didn't even change the sheets for her. Adrienne quickly turned around for the first time I saw despair etched on her face.
ユリ、親の私よりも先に死んだら承知しないからね。
絶対に大丈夫だから。
It was unusual conviction for Julie. Oh well, shit. I was hoping that they wouldn't fucking like flash the text box, because they did that a few times when it was, what was it? Well, no, it was literally the two scenes in the common route when Karen and Luna were naked, right? When they used their naked sprites, they kept flashing the text box, so I kept having to censor more than I needed to. It was annoying. That's all I'm saying.
ゆうたさん。
Hmm?
ごめんなさい。
This is also the first time that we're seeing other perspective, even though Yuta is still here and awake. /awake. After smiling faintly, Yuta closed his eyes again. She could feel his heart beating clear as her own. Her senses were sharpened. She felt like she could hear a pin dropping across the room. their naked bodies against one another also added to it. Ba-dump, ba-dump. The rhythm of her lover's gentle heartbeat alone brought her joy. After a few minutes, Julie quietly called to him again. She had told him not moments ago to sleep at will, and she knew she was only interrupting his sleep.
ゆうたさん
But this time he didn't open his eyes. She got the sense that his heartbeat was slowing. The heart contracted to send life throughout the entire body. The intervals were becoming more distant. Opposite from Julie, who was enveloping in a comforting aura, Yuta's life was slowly ebbing away.
ママの言うように私は確かに変わっていた。昔からパパが言っていた醜いアヒルの子。前にこっちで絵本で読んだことがある。その子はアヒルの群れの中で醜いと言っていじめられるけど、その子は本当は白鳥で、だから。
The world she inhabited was in another place. That thought crossed Julie's mind when she read the storybook.
私の生きるところはきっとここ。
Julie wrapped her body tightly around her husband's, as his breath slipped further and further away. After a long exhalation, like a deflating balloon, Yuta did not inhale again. His breathing had stopped. The heartbeat, which separates the living beings from mere matter, had stopped as well.
体から魂が。
Julie's eyes followed it as it levitated higher into the air. She slipped into the world of his soul. I mean, okay, this one I actually can't not censor. I was trying hard when this was another CG I saw when I was looking through the CGs, right, of Julie being naked, and I was worried that this was going to be the only CG for an episode, right? Thank fuck it isn't, because I don't need to because that means I don't need to use this as the thumbnail.
来て。こっち。
As if responding to her call, the soul drifted closer to her. She spread both arms wide in acceptance. The man she would never give up, never release. That man's soul slowly entered her body. And when the two entities were one, in that moment, they were bonded in love. I mean, here's the thing, right? The two CGs back to back aren't inherently sexual. It's just the problem is that, you know, I can't show nipple. It's the same thing with artwork in Amazing Grace. There isn't a problem with there being naked women in the artwork because those art pieces aren't inherently sexual, right? But I can't, especially because it's fucking, you know, this. It's very, you know, less. It's still artistic, but it's less artistic, quote unquote. You know, I don't know why I'm trying to justify it, but I'm still going to censor it. It's not like I'm like, this is why I didn't censor it. I'm still going to censor it. That's why you should go to the Patreon. I've thought about, whenever I had to put a censor bar, I've thought about putting the fucking link to the I've thought about putting like the Patreon link in the censor bar which would be pretty funny, but I don't think I want to do that. But it would just be more annoying, you know? Just being like, it's just a fucking neon sign constantly flashing whenever there's a censor bar being like, go to my Patreon, go to my Patreon, go to my Patreon. It's why I only keep it to whenever there's a fade in, fade out, or H scenes, right? And for Julie, well, her H scenes kind of perfectly line up with me ending episode, starting episode. So you don't really see the H scenes in Julie's route, except for her blowjob. That was the only one that. The ones in the dreams, and also the threesome. No, the first H scene was fade in, fade out, right? Whatever.
これでも永遠に一緒ですよ
Why do I feel like this process should be harder than that?
あなた
As if her voice reached him from deep within his heart. Yuta's gentle snoring started again. His breathing was at peace, without a single hint of pain.